This is the Dynasty Roundtable podcast. We are back, and Matt Babich is now a married man. So he's got the ring on the finger, and he's not flipping off the camera. We're still not monetized, so you could kind of do whatever you want to do.
Didn't
for now, but you didn't. You are holding up the ring finger. So I got to ask, how does it feel? Do you feel any different, or what was the experience like for you?
Honestly, relieving.
Yep.
You have so much that goes into it, and it sounds corny, but you never really know what it's like until you're in the middle of it. And by the time the day finally came, and then afterwards you really feel like, okay, we have this trip afterwards to kind of relax, reset, and then you come back and life's kind of back to normal, and that's kind of what it feels like. It obviously feels like we took a next step, but at the same time, it's like, oh, finally, like no more planning. We can kind of get back to our life and back to doing things. So it feels great. I'm super happy and excited to be back. It's been a long time. I had the pleasure of watching the opening 2 games in Hawaii. So that was a really cool experience, getting to see Thursday night football at 2 p.m. But excited to break down the full slate here. I'm really excited for this episode.
Yeah, we got a lot of good information. The show sheet is as long as some novels, but anyway, I just wanted to get your takeaways from the being married, because I don't know if it was, or from the wedding, rather, because I don't know if it was like this for you, but for us, it was like, gosh, we planned for this event for so long, and now we can actually, you kind of said it, we can actually, start to live our lives now. We kind of felt like our plans were on hold for a while until the wedding happened, and then yes, okay, now we can start. I don't know if that's what it felt like for you, but that's kind of what it was.
Exact same feeling. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, let us know how you felt after you got married in the chat. That could be really good, or it could be really bad. Hopefully it's really good. But let's get into week 1. All right. A lot went down in week 1, and no better place to start than the beginning. So Cowboys and Eagles from Hawaii. Matt Babich was sipping a Mai Tai or something, watching this game at, I don't know, 2 or 3 p.m. What were your takeaways from the Thursday night, surprisingly close Cowboys-Eagles game?
So first of all, we were mostly pina coladas, but also one of my tropical drinks that I have discovered, a summertime drink, may sound a little lame, but Malibu and Coke, or any coconut rum and Coke. It tastes like it's just a little bit of a sweeter kind of rum and Coke rather than the whiskey taste. If you like whiskey, you're probably going to prefer, the whiskey or a Jack and Coke, but it's a nice little twist on the rum and Coke. Chat. In addition to the marriage, let us know what your favorite kind of summertime drink is as we, kick off fall here now that we're in September. But easily the most surprising thing, and it was immediate, was Javonte Williams. Now, it's not that he definitely looked better than Denver. I don't think he really hasn't ever looked like that rookie version of him that we saw that was explosive, like pre-ACL injury. And even when he was in that mode in Denver early on in his career, he wasn't necessarily the best tackle breaker, the most elusive runner. And that was his one knock. The biggest takeaway was the amount of carries that he got. He had a bell cow workload. Now, it was pretty obvious that he wasn't gaining that, those chunk plays, those explosive plays that we really want for fantasy, but he was grinding out there. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. It was a really good game. And despite his faults as a prospect, as a player, what's the one thing we care about most for running backs? That's the opportunity. And what happened to his only competition in week 1, Miles Sanders? He broke out a long run, which every fantasy analyst has already said Jadon Blue probably would have scored that, and I agree. But I also think that Jadon Blue probably wouldn't have been able to hit the hole the way Miles Sanders did. I think he probably would have gotten caught for like a 3 or 4 yard gain. But he then fumbles. It turns out to be a very pivotal fumble, because what happens is George Pickens gets that penalty, and then Miles Sanders fumbles, And that really blew a lot of momentum for the Cowboys. Really just emphasizes what Javonte Williams is going to be doing going forward. He's going to have that bell cow role. I think I may be wrong. I forgot to check up on this before we started. I think Jadon Blue might already be inactive for week 2. But
yeah, I can check
even if he's not, it doesn't seem like he's going to be worked into this offense anytime soon. Now, to speak to some of the other parts of the game quickly, as I didn't really have too many grand takeaways. CD is CD. I'm not worried about A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, except for the fact that reportedly there was 0 man coverage played against Philadelphia, and that's going to be an A.J. Brown stopper. What's A.J. Brown's bread and butter, man? Those man routes or those soft zones where he can find those spaces. And if defenses are going to be very aggressive in terms of trying to take those away and making, taking away the big plays, taking away the easy stuff on the boundaries, making things happen inside, because what does Jalen Hurts not do that much is throw in the intermediate over the middle of the field area. So it seems like, just based on week 1, that's going to be something that defenses are going to try and force Jalen Hurts to do. So I'm not overly worried about A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. I do think that defenses might be trying to game plan to completely shut down that passing game, which I'm not sure if that totally makes sense given how good their run game is. You would imagine you would sell out for the run, but this Eagles offense is so stacked. It's like, where do you even begin trying to stop them? But then George Pickens is the last thing. Might be my biggest worry, but I'm not sure a debut against one of the league's top secondaries is worth rushing to judgment for. The targets are going to be there. This Dallas team is going to be throwing the ball. And one thing that I really loved seeing from Chris, I'm probably going to butcher his last name, but Wetch, notable players to run significantly more horizontally breaking routes than they did in 2024. George Pickens leads receivers at plus 20%. Now, what that means is he's going to be playing less on the boundary, less on these sideline balls, which we know Dak has a propensity for throwing and Pickens has a propensity for catching. But for fantasy purposes, we want our receivers to get open. So that's going to be good for him going forward. So I'm not very worried about George Pickens yet.
Yeah, I'm not either, because if you look at the usage, he ran more routes, just one more route than CeeDee Lamb. And it's pretty predictable. We kind of had an idea of what this Cowboys passing attack was going to be going into the season, and they didn't really do much to change our minds. I mean, George Pickens was on the field 56 of 61 snaps, ran 33 of 35 possible routes, and was only targeted 4 times. That's going to change in the future, I have to believe. On the Eagles side, and you talked about Javonte Williams, so I'll leave that at that. I think Javonte Williams is going to be a usable running back for fantasy this year, because I don't think Jadon Blue is going to be, this year at least, a competition for targets or carries out of the backfield. I think Javonte Williams is their plan 1A and 1B at the running back position. I don't think Miles Sanders is much of anything at this stage of his career. I don't know if it's going to be this. I don't know if it's going to be 47 of 61 snaps, 27 of 35 routes run, 15 carries to Miles Sanders 4. I don't know if it's going to be that for the entire season, but I think it's clearly Javonte Williams. And then you said it really well there. I'm not worried about A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. And from a dynasty angle, if anything, if I can get those players for cheaper now than I could, before this week,
absolutely,
I would absolutely do that, because especially Devonta Smith, because he's a little bit cheaper. I mean, it's funny, the parallels in these two teams, like A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, the clear 1A and 1B for the Eagles. And then on the opposite side, it's clearly CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. And there's not really much of a third wide receiver on the roster. So I think that sums up that one. Let's go to the Friday night game that was played in Brazil, and that's the Chiefs, and that is the Chargers. And obviously, we have to talk about the fact that Xavier Worthy was hurt literally on the first passing play of the game. So we'll talk about that, but I think you want to start with the Chargers.
So, yeah, and it mostly because I think that's where the bulk of the discussion should be had. I think we can talk a little bit about the pitfall of Xavier Worthy, but I think we all know it's like, all right, Marquise Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, like, they see temporary increases. We're really just waiting for Rashee Rice to get back, probably downgrading the offense as a whole until then. But I think Ladd McConkey might be one of the biggest stories here, and Omarion Hampton too. So on McConkey's side, you had him being outshined a little bit by Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen. Quickly to pivot to Quentin Johnston, he deserves your respect. He deserves your respect. Seth, you found it a little crazy when I brought up Quentin Johnston as a deep value in Dynasty going into the season because of what he did to end last season, and not just what he did in performance-wise, but his usage. And that continued to improve. When you have guys like Keenan and Ladd McConkey on the field, we've seen that usage get more geared towards what his actual strengths are, getting him into open space, crossing routes. He's a freak athlete. He's just got to catch the ball. And confidence is huge in all sports, definitely with wide receivers, because, I mean, I played the position not at a very high level, but even I know that when you're down on yourself and you're dropping passes, if you have that negative attitude and you don't have confidence or you don't have belief from your teammates or your coaches, you're more likely to drop more passes. And so a game like this is absolutely huge for him, not only to end the season like he did, but to continue that in year 3 is absolutely huge. Keenan Allen is not dusty. He is good. But what this showed to me was the Chiefs had all offseason to plan for this game, and they had a clear priority, and that was Ladd McConkey. And even still, Ladd had a good game. Not a bad performance. He had a very healthy target share. And now teams have film on record. Hey, if we don't pay any attention to Keenan Allen or Quentin Johnston, this Chargers team that led the league in pass rate over expectation, they're going to beat us. So defenses are going to have, they can sell out to defend Ladd, but they're probably going to have to be more honest if they really want to silence this passing attack as a whole. And then on Omarion Hampton's side, so quickly to close that out, I'm not worried about Ladd McConkey yet. I think his value could have gotten to the point where I might want to explore trades. I'm not trying to trade him, but he's definitely someone where if someone's going to still pay peak value and I can get a good deal, I'm at least willing to listen. But I still believe in him long term, mostly because of how this team ran their offense. Yes, it was against one of the league's best rushing defenses, but they were very pass heavy. And that same reason is why I'm not worried about Omarion Hampton. Seth, I don't know about you. I do not understand what people were watching for the people that said Omarion Hampton looked bad. I don't. Maybe it's just because he didn't have a great fantasy performance and people just look through whatever the opposite of rose-colored lenses are. But he didn't look bad at all. He looked like he was going up against one of the league's best rushing defenses, and they game planned accordingly. They passed the ball. This Kansas City secondary has a leak in it, and they exposed that. The big thing is the opportunity. Najee was pretty much non-existent. Hampton was out there a lot. So I think the theme that I'm going to be carrying a lot here is it's week 1. Like, we can't be panicking yet on performance. Let's focus on usage.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I thought the Omarion Hampton overreaction is a classic example of anything. I was encouraged by what I saw from Omarion Hampton. I had the complete opposite reaction. I mean, he was on the field for 52 of 65 snaps, ran 25 of 41 routes, was only targeted twice. So the targets are going to come because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. 15 carries to Najee Harris's 1. Now, I know that they're ramping up Najee, and he's probably going to be more involved in the future, but I thought the usage was outstanding, and I thought that he was predictably not great in his first NFL start against one of the best run defenses in the NFL with Chris Jones right there in the middle. Now, to talk about Ladd McConkey for a second, I think if you can buy low on Ladd McConkey, I think that is exactly what I would do. I know it's just one game, so his value is not going to take a hit too much in Dynasty, but I do think Keenan Allen is going to be annoying enough at times throughout the season. Now it's Keenan Allen, so we know he's going to miss anywhere from 3 to 5 games because he's Keenan Allen and he's older. But I have to admit to you, I think you're spot on about Quentin Johnston. I mean, he looks to be the X wide receiver in this offense. 53 of 65 snaps, 36 routes run out of 41, 7 targets, caught the 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to play a role on this team. So I think that you were correct about that. And if there's a player that you need to sell right now, I think it's Hollywood Brown. I think you need to try to capitalize because we all know that Xavier Worthy, I mean, he might play week 2. I doubt it, but the Chiefs are saying he's day-to-day last time I checked. As soon as Xavier Worthy's back, Hollywood Brown goes right back to his other role in the offense. He's not going to get 16 targets again, I highly doubt, unless, Worthy and Rice are out. And we know Rice is coming back in week 6, or rather week 7 after his 6-game suspension. So we know that that's going to happen. So it's not, I don't know what you can get for him, but I would be looking to trade him to the Xavier Worthy owner or the Rashee Rice owner that's maybe trying to get a depth piece at wide receiver or something like that, because his days are numbered. That's going to be tricky, but that's what I would say about that.
One quick thing on Xavier Worthy, actually, before we move on. I am not a doctor. I am not an expert. Now, I did see a expert suggest that his re-injury risk, if he did not sit out an extended period of time, was roughly 50%, which to me honestly sounds right, because I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor, but I have torn my labrum in this shoulder, and then I have also dislocated this shoulder. And I could tell you that your muscle, like everything in here, you have to tear your labrum for your shoulder to come out of socket. So he has a torn labrum, and your re-injury risk on a torn labrum before it gets fully healed is much higher. As I feel terrible because I can't remember who said it, but as one of these Twitter doctors suggested. So I'm not very bullish on him playing early on. I think he has to go through physical therapy. I think this is a Super Bowl team that knows that they can get by with little, and they shouldn't be risking Xavier Worthy's long-term health for this. Because if he does get re-injured, then he does have to have surgery. Whereas if he goes through that full rehabilitation process, which is roughly 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how bad the tear is and how fast everything heals, then the re-injury risk becomes much lower. The re-dislocation risk becomes much lower. If I'm a win now team with Worthy and someone's, still feeling pretty good that he's going to be playing this season, I would not be opposed to selling him, because I do think there's a very good chance that he does not see the field until Rashee Rice comes back at the very least. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. Just from my experience, I don't know how in the hell I would be able to play after dislocating my shoulder at the receiver position.
Yeah, I think he's going to miss at least 2 to 3 weeks, but, I think Kansas City's playing it pretty close to the vest. Let's move to the Sunday slate of games. And the first game I don't know if this is at what order this is in, but we have Buccaneers versus the Falcons. It was one of the more entertaining games. And I think we can take a victory lap. I think you specifically can take a victory lap, because the obvious takeaway from this game is Emeka Egbuka is the real deal. We've been hearing it throughout training camp, but teams tell you what they think of players by what they actually do in the game. That's where the BS stops and the realness begins. 54 snaps out of 58 possible, 36 routes run out of 37 possible routes, 6 targets, but we know what he did. He caught the 2 touchdowns, and he's, as long as Chris Godwin is going to be dealing with this injury, and supposedly week 5 is what he's targeting as a comeback, I'll believe it when I see it. And we know Jalen McMillan's going to be out until at least week 9, maybe longer. So I don't know why they would rush Chris Godwin back with Emeka Egbuka playing the way that he is, because I think you can get by with those 2 guys. But Emeka Egbuka, I mean, it's over. You can't buy him in Dynasty anymore. So I hope you got some of them. I know we did, but that is my number one takeaway. Emeka Egbuka is the real deal. What was your takeaway from this game?
So this will tickle you, and I'm sure you've read ahead in our show sheet here and saw what my biggest takeaway is. Because it's not even Egbuka. Because to me, the 2 touchdown game is amazing. And the fact that he went into the huddle and said, Baker, I'm going to run a post and game 1 on this corner. and then went out and did it. I don't know if you heard that story yet.
No, I never.
No, he went into the huddle, told Baker he wanted to run a post, and he was going to clinch the game in the huddle. And Mike Evans and Baker were like, all right, let's do it. And then they ran out next play, ran that play, and Egbuka caught the game-winning touchdown. That's unreal confidence from a rookie, especially when you're in the huddle with a
first game on the
Hall
road.
Of Fame. Yeah, first game on the road in the division, in the huddle with a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Crazy thing to do, but we knew that he had that opportunity and talent to do that. For me, it's Kyle Pitts, because I said he was dead. I buried him in my tight end rankings. And what does he do? He goes out and he has a damn good game. His 78% snap share. Now, it's one game, but that would be a career high if that trend continues. I don't think we should expect 42 attempts from Penix every game, and that's where his 19% target share is a little bit worrisome, because I would have loved to see him have maybe closer to a 22, 25% target share. But the key is Drake London is a little hurt. Darnell Mooney's back at practice, but probably won't be back for another week or so. If this can continue, the thing is, Pitts looked good. It's not that he got targets and he did some stuff with it. He was getting open. He was getting yards after the catch. He would have had a touchdown if Penix had another 1 second, half a second to 1 second on his touchdown run. Pitts ran a beautiful route, absolutely shook his defender and got open. But just as he went out of his break, Penix was already, having to come out and scramble. So if he gets a little bit more protection there, Pitts has roughly a 10-yard touchdown, and we're looking at like something close to a 6-catch, 61-yard and a touchdown performance. And we're talking about Pitts even more positively than we are right now. I can't believe it. Now, he's only 7 yards ahead of Ray McLeod, so don't get too comfortable yet on our season-long bet, which I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose. But it's Kyle Pitts for me, man. He was super cheap. I still think he's probably affordable. I don't think people who had Kyle Pitts, it's probably what their Kyle Pitts owner is thinking is, thank God I have a sell window. And with this Falcons passing attack, look, their rushing attack is going to struggle without Kaleb McGary. And they ran to the left almost exclusively. And this is just going to be what it is. I think they're going to be a pass-heavier offense if this continues. So Kyle Pitts, man, give it up. I think I'm not going to be too bullish yet, but I think given the price, he's worth some flyers, because this is an offense that's going to pass. I think they're going to score points, and this could be the real deal.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kyle Pitts looked really good, and I would be buying him. I would also be kicking the tires on Michael Penix if I needed a quarterback. I know we haven't seen a big sample size from him, but I thought he looked really good, and I think he's I think he's legit. I think he's going to be their quarterback for the next, 5 to 7 to 10 years. I really do. So let's move to one of the more surprising games. Bengals Browns, or maybe we shouldn't be surprised by anything that happens in Cincinnati, but Bengals Browns, very close. So why don't you take this one away? You have some takeaways from the backfield, as I see here in the show sheet.
Yeah, actually, before I get to the backfield, the biggest surprise was Harold Fannin for me.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I envisioned him being, a true tight end too, kind of working in some true tight end sets, maybe getting some receiver snaps, and David Njoku still kind of taking the lead. But no, Stefanski came out with a very clear plan for him, getting him design targets, first read targets, moving him around the formation. He even was a lead blocker as an F-back. I'm buying high based on what I saw from him last weekend. I think this is potentially like a souped up Isaiah Likely, like somebody who is a little bit more dynamic, a little bit better of a receiver, and he's in a offense that's going to be passing more often. Now, the question for me long term is what happens when Joe Flacco isn't the starter of this team, because they're 0-1, they're going to be losing games. So that's where I have some hesitancy, but I still think this Kevin Stefanski offense, we see it every single time Joe Flacco gets behind center. He wants to pass the ball. And so if any quarterback that's under center can do that, Harold Fan's going to be getting targets. So I'm really interested based on what I saw from him. Not much has changed on Judy and Tillman, but Dylan Sampson, solid with the work that he got, more in the passing game than in others. But that success on a small sample size is what's going to earn him more opportunities. Quinshon Judkins met with the league in New York today. He was expected to practice today, didn't because he had that meeting. He's expected to practice tomorrow. We don't really know what's going to happen, but what we know is from other teams that he's probably not going to go in and get 20 touches right off the bat. It's going to be a slow burn. So Sampson has that time, as we've predicted throughout this scenario, of getting that main pass catching, long down and distance, even the 2-minute drill back for this team, which would be huge for him and really bad for Judkins because it takes a significant amount of the work away that we thought he could gain before all this legal trouble started.
Yeah, I still think Sampson is a buy because I think he has an opportunity to take this job away and run with it because we know what Jerome Ford is. Jerome Ford is one of the primary reasons why they have Dylan Sampson and Quinshon Judkins. He had his opportunity and wasn't efficient with what he did in 2024, especially. So, like, if you look at what Dylan Sampson did, it was, if I can see it, if I can bring up the right thing here we go. 33 of 76 snaps, 15 of 48 routes run, 8 targets. That is the key right there. 8 targets out of the backfield for Dylan Sampson. And this entire Browns offense is dependent on Joe Flacco. So I think there will be a natural buy window because it's going to happen whenever Joe Flacco is replaced by Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders or both throughout the season. I think you're going to be able to, if you're a rebuilding team, you're going to be able to go get Dylan Sampson. You might even be able to go get Quinshon Judkins or Harold Fannin. But I really, out of all these players, I really am keying in on Dylan Sampson because I think he's affordable and I think he has a legitimate opportunity right now to win the job going forward. So that would be my takeaway. I also wanted to just real briefly touch on, Cedric Tillman is the clear wide receiver 2 for the Browns. And when I was looking through the data, I found it very interesting that he ran 67 of 76 snaps. He was on the field for 67 of 76 snaps, 46 routes run out of 48 possible, 8 targets. That is exactly the same as Jerry Jeudy, unless somebody from PFF made a mistake when they were entering the data. I don't know. But another player that I thought was interesting that showed up on the usage report was Isaiah Bond, who ran 21 or 11 routes out of 48, 21 possible snaps out of 76, and is interesting to stash away and see what happens if he's sitting out there on your waiver wire. I'll just throw that out there as well as we move on to the next game. And the next game is, it was a travesty of a game, but it was Dolphins Colts. And the Dolphins looked absolutely god awful. And basically, if you have any Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, Tua, Jalen Waddle, Devon Chain is fine. I think he's one of the only usable players right now in Miami. I guess you're throwing Tyreek Hill in your lineup if you have him, probably. But this team looks like a dumpster fire. And I've been back and forth on Jalen Waddle throughout his career. And if this is what Miami's going to be this year, it's a 1-game sample size, so I don't want to overreact too much. But not only am I out on Tyreek Hill, because I was out on Tyreek Hill before the season started, and I was selling him for what I could in any league that I had him, and I don't think I have any more shares. But I also think the same might be true for Jalen Waddle too. Now, because he's not like a spring chicken anymore. He's almost 27 years old. He's 26 going on 27. So I'm concerned there. I'm also concerned about all this Ollie Gordon hype. It doesn't seem like that was legitimate. He played on 12 of 47 snaps, 9 routes run out of 36, only targeted 1 time, only 2 carries to Devon Chain 7. Now, he's the backup, but if you're a backup on a team that's not very good, I don't know what that means. You're not dropping him in deeper leagues, but I don't know. I don't know if the role and the usage is going to be there for him right away. So talk to me about this game. I know we haven't touched on the Colts yet, but I'll throw it to you. I am very, very skeptical of this game in general, and skeptical of Daniel Jones as well. I think I need to see more from Daniel Jones, and there's no doubt that the Colts pass catchers like looked really good in this game, specifically Michael Pittman and Tyler Warren, but I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, it was, from the Dolphins' perspective, it was disgusting. I think that was the end. Yep. Like, we saw the end right there. I think McDaniel is going to be fired in the next couple of weeks. He sounds like he almost wants it to happen. He sounds like he wants to get out of there. Future Lions offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel is going to be fired here in the next few weeks. I'm in the middle with Waddle. It's tough, but I think Tyreek is a trade candidate, and it's hard to imagine this team is this bad throughout the entire season. Because even with their struggles last year, they still looked like a good offense with Tua in. This could be just a big case of lack of preparation and a lack of respect for Lou Anarumo, who is a brilliant defensive coordinator and is going to be keeping the Colts in a lot of games here. Am I crazy for being interested in selling Achin just with what this team is?
No, absolutely not. I was going to go there myself, but the only case that you can make for this season, if you're a rebuilding team, maybe you could make a case for buying him. But the only case you can make for him for this season is this team's going to suck and they're going to be dumping the ball off to him a lot, which is possible. Like, that's the only upside case you could sell me, but I'm right there with you.
Yeah, at that price, if I'm a rebuilding team, I'd rather either pay a slight premium to get Hampton or get Henderson instead.
Yeah, and I'm not really into buying running backs if I'm a rebuilding team anyway.
Neither am I.
So man, I guess I just discounted my own point there.
Then Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey, I'd much rather just trade for Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey plus to a believer, that because Achin still had the production in week one. So if I can get CMC, plus or Derrick Henry plus at a Achin as a win now team, I'm doing that in a heartbeat, even if the plus isn't that much.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I think I would be in on that. Especially, you saw what Derrick Henry did. I think I'd be more open to Derrick Henry. CMC scares me a little bit because Shanahan just don't seem to give a what. But
I think it's later. More the injuries to San Francisco's surrounding players that make me worried about CMC and what his utilization has to be on an offense that may not be doing well. But I got to take a massive L on one of my preseason takes here. Now, granted, I did say, I did agree with you saying that Pittman was still a buy at his cost. I did prefer Downs and said that I didn't think Daniel Jones could push the ball consistently to a boundary guy like Pittman. And I even gave Pittman not enough credit for his ability to separate. Now, granted, it's one game, so I'm not going to walk it back too much, but it looks like I may have to eat a lot of crow on that take because it was all centered around Josh Downs, who was relatively non-existent in that game. Is it the defensive scheme? Is it the, being up a ton early? I don't know, but Pittman and Warren were the guys in this offense. And it to me, it's hard to imagine that Downs goes back to what he was doing before. And Tyler Warren was always tight end one, shame on me for pivoting. I let the masses make me pivot to Colston Loveland, even though I didn't fully believe it. And so that was a lesson for me in not pivoting there.
More on the Bears later.
Yeah.
That we've saved that to the end. So that's a tease for the end. If you want me to just go full burn it all to the ground on the Bears, just wait until the end of the episode. But again, I'm right there with you on Michael Pittman. Welcome back, Michael Pittman. It's amazing what competency can get you. And I think that's the real Michael Pittman that showed up. So I'm into Michael Pittman. I wish I had more of them in redraft and dynasty for that matter. Let's go to the Panthers-Jaguars game. And, I hate to be this guy, and nobody wants to listen to a podcast where a guy just it's like, oh, look at how right I was all the time. But Matt, do we get our flowers? Are the kids still saying that, by the way? The flowers?
I don't think kids are saying that, but people our age are still saying that.
Okay, so
and we deserve the flowers, damn it.
For Travis Hunter, I mean, can we get an amen here from the chat for Travis Hunter?
What two people were saying for months that this guy is going to be a receiver and then a part-time corner?
That's what we said it from the beginning, based on our film analysis that we did. And you could go check out those episodes right here on the channel. And you should like and subscribe because Travis Hunter is a wide receiver, baby. 42 of 66 snaps he played on offense. That's going to get it done. That's in the 60. I think that's 66%-ish. 27 of 33 routes run, though. That's key. That's so good. 8 targets. And better days are going to be coming because that was kind of a weird game. It was stopped because of the weather. And it wasn't particularly close, so the game script wasn't good for a passing attack. But this Jaguars defense is not very good. We know that there are going to be more opportunities for Travis Hunter down the line, and I think he's dynamic. It looks like he has that slot role, that Chris Godwin, Liam Cohen role in the offense with BTJ playing on the outside. Man, I think he's going to have a monster year. So I hope you drafted some Travis Hunter, especially when he was falling to the middle rounds of your rookie drafts. And also, the other rookie on the other side of the ball, Teteroa McMillan, he is legit. His usage is going to be legit. He's the number 1 wide receiver for the Panthers. I know Bryce Young looked bad, but again, weather, weird game. I'm willing to give Bryce Young a pass, even though I know he looked terrible. But McMillan played on 53 of 64 snaps. Ran a route on 35 of 40 dropbacks and was targeted 8 times. There are going to be much, much better days for Teteroa McMillan, and he really didn't even have that bad of a day, but the usage for these 2 rookies was my takeaway, and if I can get them, I don't think I can anymore because I think the price just went up, especially for Travis Hunter. I mean, Teteroa McMillan was getting way more steam than Travis Hunter entering the season, which was crazy to me, but anyway, Travis Hunter, it's probably too late. It's probably too late on Teteroa McMillan, but those are 2 players that I want on my dynasty team. So if there's a deal you can swing to get those 2 guys and maybe shed some veterans in order to do that, hell yeah, sign me up for that because I think that these are 2 legitimate NFL wide receivers that have the potential to be superstars.
Yeah, the other full agreement with you there, and I think the other thing to bring up is the Jaguars' backfield, and so I believe the 2 we weren't super adamant about really anyone in the Jaguars' backfield for what I can remember, but I believe our stances were pretty much I'm willing to take shots on ETN and Tootin, and we weren't really very pro Bigsby guys, and that's because we prioritize upside and archetype. And what happens? Bigsby wasn't very involved, gets traded on Monday night. And ETN, man, welcome back.
Yeah.
Absolutely electric. Looked very good out there. And I think the thing long term is now Bashul Tootin has that opportunity with Bigsby gone to kind of eat at some of that role with ETN. Not a good start with how hot ETN ran, but as we know, he's a guy who gets banged up a little often, and there's room for him to carve out a role there. And there are reporters close to Jacksonville suggesting that while I don't like the comp necessarily, and I hate that everyone has to always say like, oh, what if Tootin is his is Cohen's Bucky Irving? But there's reports stirring around in Jacksonville that really is the case, and Cohen really did go out with the mindset of recreating that with Bashul Tootin. So I am interested still in picking up Bashul Tootin at his cost just because the upside is there and the cost is cheap. ETN, I don't know what that looks like now. I'm sure it's going to be it might be like the Kyle Pitts scenario where ETN owners are thanking God that they have a sell window. So I'd be kicking the tires on ETN. The price may be too high given just 1 week of production, but absolutely something to kick the tires on. And then Brenton Strange in deeper leagues, tight end premium leagues. I think there's a lot more of this passing offense that's going to come in especially in negative game scripts or higher scoring games. So Brenton Strange is also worth noting. Played 52 of 66 of the snaps and ran a route on 24 of the 23 dropbacks. Ended up catching 4 of 4 targets for 59 yards. So decent performance out of him as well.
Yeah, I'm in a full agreement with you on Tootin, and I think I mentioned this in a YouTube short today. I think that there are scenarios out there where people are too clever for their own good, and they try to sell high on Travis Etienne or Kyle Pitts or even Javonte Williams for that matter. And I think the price is still good on all of those players, and I think they have a ton of upside this season. Like Javonte Williams and Travis Etienne, I think are more win now pieces. So keep that in mind when you're going and making offers. But I still think that all of those players are going to be super useful in fantasy this year. Let's pivot to a game that was probably close to Matt Babbage's heart, the Raiders-Patriots game. Disappointing, I think, for some of my Patriots hype entering the season. But I need to ask you, what's the temperature check on Drake May today?
Still fine with Drake May. It's funny because yes, it's the Raiders, but we went into last season saying he has no help. They don't have a very good offensive line. We can't really expect Drake May to be playing well. And the sentiment last year was there's a lot there, but this roster needs to come together because he's not a guy yet that's going to elevate an entire roster. We can't expect that of him. And week 1, I would have loved to be better prepared for this Raiders defense. But when you break it down, look, Diggs did not look very good at all. Yes, he's coming off an ACL. So is that what I expect from him all year? Maybe not necessarily, but we got Kayshon Boutte out here, 8 targets. Now he looks good, but that's my biggest takeaway. Drake May's closest chemistry with the receiver on this team is Kayshon Boutte. Kyle Williams isn't good enough to be running, with this offense yet. Pop Douglas is good, but he is what he is. And Diggs is not up to par at all yet. This passing attack isn't any better than it was last year as of right now. So I don't have high expectations for Drake May because the roster isn't any different. Man, Diggs was not the right move. We needed to do something different. I don't know what the answer is going forward. It's going to be hard to trust him if it's going to be a whole nother season of this, but I don't think it's the talent of Drake May that's going to be weighing this offense down. I was disappointed with the play calling. I really hope Travion Henderson starts getting more run. I really think that's what's going to help open up this offense is getting him more involved. So I really hope from a play calling and personnel perspective that this is just a week 1 little hiccup that they'll get over. But from a Drake May talent perspective, I'm not concerned. I think he sees the field well. I just don't think he has the talent to help him.
Yeah, I was going to mention that because Travion Henderson was 25 of 71 snaps, 18 of 53 routes run, 5 carries, 6 targets. Ramondre Stevenson was on the field a hell of a lot more. I do think that we're going to see a lot more Travion because he's a lot more explosive than Stevenson. So I wouldn't necessarily be worried about that. Hunter Henry getting elite usage as well. 8 targets for him. You talked about Boutte. Let's talk about the Raiders for a second. I think Jacoby Myers is a buy. I think he's a stud. And I think that this Raiders team recognizes that. I mean, he was on the field all day. He was targeted 10 times, 59 of 63 snaps, 37 out of 40 possible routes run. I think I don't think he's valued highly enough. And then Ashton Genty is going to be a bell cow. He is exactly what we thought. Now, again, similarly to Amari and Hampton, I don't think that people had a visceral reaction to Ashton Genty because he did get 19 carries, 2 targets, and he was on the field 54 out of 63 snaps, but he wasn't efficient either. And I do think better days are going to be coming for Ashton Genty. We have to remember that these guys are rookies. Amari Hampton, Ashton Genty. If anything, I'm encouraged by those 2 guys. I'm not discouraged at all. The team trust them enough to run them out there as much as they did. I'm all in on these guys. I don't know how you feel, but I'm very encouraged with Ashton Genty's usage right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's move to the Cardinals Saints game. Some takeaways from me on this game. It looks like Chris Olave is going to get 1 million targets every game. And it looks like, the Saints are going to be playing from behind this year. We all know this. He was targeted 13 times. So I think Chris Olave, I might have been wrong about him. We'll see if the production is there. He had a modest game. So we'll see. I still don't think the touchdowns are going to be there. So I'm a little bit higher on Chris Olave than I was, but I don't know. He feels like milk toast to me, or if that's even an expression. And then the surprise to me from the Saints, Juwan Johnson was on the field basically all, like, outside of just one snap, 74 of 75 snaps, 11 targets. He feels like the security blanket for Spencer Rattler. Now, I don't know how long the Spencer Rattler experience is going to last, but if you need a tight end and you need one for cheap, I think Juwan Johnson's a good target. But what were some of your takeaways from this game?
Yeah, Rattler throwing over 40 times, that can't be the desired game plan.
No. I think he's going to be throwing a lot, but 40 times, man, that's not what you want if you're a Saints fan. Not that you have much or many expectations heading into the season, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I don't have much to offer other than what you said. I think Trey Benson's a buy based on what we saw. I think his time to buy is his window is closing pretty quick, because I think there's going to be a game where he gets hyper efficient on those touches, and then it's going to be over. And then Juwan Johnson on the other side is I tried to add him everywhere I could in waivers, just because he's free. Like, he was a guy that wasn't, you were even in deep roster leagues, you weren't really even trading for him. Maybe in a deep league tight end premium, but on a win now roster, if that's the case, I'm down to trade for him. Or if I missed out on waivers, I'm down to send an offer for him, just because he's a converted, wide receiver. He played a lot at wide receiver on Sunday, and this team is going to be down a lot. They're going to be passing a lot. If that chemistry with Rattler's there, I think it's a Kellen Moore thing too. I think Kellen Moore really likes what Juwan Johnson brings to the offense. So I think no matter who's playing quarterback, I think Johnson's going to have a big role in the offense.
Yeah. Can we get to the drunk game of the day?
Yeah.
This game was stupid, man. First of all, you have two of my favorite quarterbacks in the entire league. One of them, is Aaron Rodgers, and then the other one, Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields just had his best game that he's going to have for the entire season. Go ahead, leave your hate comments in the chat. I think Justin Fields, I don't know what the hell happened in that game, but he looked good. And Aaron Rodgers, same story. 4 touchdown passes. That might be the last time that happens in his career. I think I would still be selling those two players, because did you see the offensive line for the Steelers? That was absolutely atrocious protecting him. And somehow this game was a shootout. I don't understand how it was, because the Vegas total was like negative 11-10. But can you explain to me the Steelers running back usage?
No,
like Kenneth Gainwell, Arthur Smith, are you out of your goddamn mind? And Mike Tomlin, have you just been in the league? Do you just need to take a break for a year and just kind of reassess? Because Kenneth Gainwell cannot be your lead running back in the year 2025. He just can't be. And he played more snaps than Jalen Warren. I don't understand it. Caleb Johnson barely got on the field. He's a buy low for me. And then back to the Jets. Breece Hall is the clear lead running back, and he should be. He's the most talented. I don't understand why teams, and I get it. We talked about it before the season started, that they were talking a big game. Oh yeah, everybody's got to earn their opportunity, but Breece Hall's the clear best running back in this offense, and they're still trying to mix Braylon Allen in there, and I get that, but I still think Breece Hall is a buy low. And then Mason Taylor if Justin Fields can get the ball to him, was on the field for 56 of 64 snaps, 21 of 25 routes run, only targeted one time, though. I think he's a buy as well. Any thoughts on this stupid game that somehow was a shootout?
Yeah, we have a lot of games left, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But with Breece Hall, oh, yeah, shocker. Preseason hype ended up being preseason hype. Oh, Braylon Allen is too good to be. You sure? You sure about that? You sure about that, bud? You sure it's not because it's just preseason and hardly anyone's trying or giving complex looks? You sure that's not why? That's why. And Breece Hall looked good. Braylon Allen didn't, because Breece Hall is really good and Braylon Allen is good. That is what it is. Caleb Johnson has to be a buy low. Otherwise, I'm willing to take the L. If they drafted him in the early third, basically second, for literally no reason to not play him all year, cool. I'll take the L.
When not only to not play him, but to play Kenneth Gainwell over him.
Well, neither him nor Warren were any good at running the ball.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And Gainwell had 3 catches for 4 yards. Like, it simply cannot continue. It feels like a pass protection, Aaron Rodgers trust thing to me. And Johnson has to earn that before he can see the field. But at a certain point, they're going to have to be able to be a multifaceted team. This is not going to last. So someone dropped in a redraft league of mine. They dropped Caleb Johnson, and I saved my first waiver claim. And I didn't use it yesterday. And I will be using it on Caleb Johnson simply because there are very few players with that type of upside. So if anyone is that low on him in Dynasty, I'm going to be taking shots just because simply probability and what this offense has. I just don't think this is sustainable to keep him on the bench.
No, he's one of your most talented offensive players on a team that's going to struggle offensively. And like, just because Aaron Rodgers doesn't like him shouldn't mean shit. Deal with it, Aaron. Like, good Lord. And he's like, anyway, don't get me started. All right, Giants versus Commanders. All right. Here is my takeaway from the whole thing. I could sum it up in this. Russell Wilson's not going to be the starter for long. He's just not very good. I mean, I think Daniel Jones last year looked better. Malik Neighbors needs better quarterback play because Malik Neighbors is elite. He's number 3 on the week in first read target share amongst all pass catchers. You want to hear 1, 2, and 3, the 2 that were ahead of him?
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, JSN. Number 2, Zay Flowers. Number 3, Malik Neighbors. I think all of those wide receivers are good buys because I do. We'll get to JSN here in a minute, but I like those guys out of that class are just insane, including Addison. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, 23 of 70 snaps, 7 routes run, a target, 10 carries. There's a report today that he is eventually going to be their starting running back. So I'm going to amend my statement in the show sheet, which says, I think I'm selling. That's literally what it says. I'm going to amend it to, I'm going to wait until he's the starting running back. And then I will put him on the trade block to see what I can get for him. Because while he looked good, I think that we'll see. I'm always skeptical of these hype reports, and maybe he's legit, maybe he is, but I'm just an old grumpus when it comes to these things. I believe that teams tell you what they believe when they draft a player in the first round or second round. It means they really like that player, and then if a player falls in the draft, it means they don't like that player. It's just like teams tell you what they think when they play certain players over other players, etc. So I'm gonna hold Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt for now, but he's definitely somebody that I'm looking to cash out on when I get the opportunity. What say you?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's hard. His value just jumped up so much that it's hard to like be buying right now. It's hard to be selling because there's still a lot of meat left on the bone of what he can do. So I'm perfectly in the middle, just like you said. Not really a whole lot to add here. I think cookies and cream, as they're calling them, Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scattaboo. It's a tweet that went viral calling them cookies and cream. God. And now I heard Establish the Run mention it. Now I thought it'd be good to just keep circulating that because I think it's a funny nickname. I don't know if it lasts. I think Cam gets a little bit more work in. So
he's a buy low.
Yeah, I think Cam might be a little bit more of a buy low than Tracy a sell because I don't think the world that Cam Scatterbo takes over this backfield completely comes to fruition like some thought it might.
Yeah, and I'll just throw out real briefly. Wan'Dale Robinson is wide receiver, 8 targets, 13th amongst pass catchers and first read target share. So
12 PPR points last week.
I think he is a usable player in fantasy and perpetually underrated. Let's go to Titans Broncos, and the only real takeaways I have from this game are Cortland Sutton's a monster. He played on virtually all the snaps, ran all the routes, 9 targets. RJ Harvey, it might take a little bit. I know he got the touchdown, but be patient with RJ Harvey. You're holding him. He's going to be really good. And Alec Ayumanor, baby. I think somebody was really in on Alec Ayumanor. That would be this guy. 45 of 57 snaps, 28 of 34 routes run, 7 targets. It feels really good to have Alec Ayumanor on your dynasty team. I don't know if you can buy him right now. I think the price is probably a little bit too high, but yeah, he looks like he's going to be involved.
For a second or higher?
Maybe not that. I don't know.
Anything up to a second, I'll pay.
I don't think you can. I don't think you could buy him for a third, but I don't think you could trade him for a second. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. He's in the middle of a market where it's going to take a little bit more than a third, and you're going to start kind of approaching on that value that's equal to a second, but you're not going to get a second round pick, if that makes sense. You'll moneyball it, make it up in the aggregate. But with RJ Harvey, he looked way better than Dobbins. He looked better than Dobbins as a rusher. So I'm still bullish on Harvey long term. And main take is Cam Ward good, Titans bad. And look, I'm not dunking on Scott Barrett by bringing this up, but he brought up all these fancy stats that said Cam Ward was bad and pretty much admitted he didn't watch the game. And everyone who watched Cam Ward play was like, dude, you didn't watch this at all. And I just found it funny because I didn't watch the full game necessarily, but I saw a lot of clips, a lot of all 22 that had surfaced between Monday and Wednesday, and obviously Red Zone. So like I'm seeing a lot of stuff pop on the TV every now and then. He looked good. He was whipping some nasty throws. And it's not this low ADOT stuff. Like he took some bad sacks. He made some rookie mistakes, but this is his first start against a solid Broncos defense. And he took that team pretty much to the brink and looked good doing it. I think it was, you got to know what to look for in the first game. And it's not perfection, but it's where's the ball placement? How's the timing? How's he reading the field? Is he stepping up in the pocket? Is he scrambling? Is he panicking? And that wasn't Cam. He was stepping up in the pocket. He was calm. He was making his reads. And he was a Calvin Ridley dropped pass away from potentially going on a game-winning drive and having a very different narrative about how his week 1 ended. So I'm very bullish on Cam Ward after what I saw. I think his market sentiment didn't drop. So I'm not necessarily saying he's a screaming buy, but if anyone does have any fading sentiments or, you want to, if there's a QB rich team that's more win now that has Cam Ward, like I'd be interested in kicking the tires there to see what I can get, but don't give up on Cam Ward because of some advanced analytics.
Yeah, I walked away from that game similarly to a lot of the other rookies we talked about. Everybody was down on him. I'm like, I'll take Cam Ward off your hands if you want to trade him to me. I think he's going to be just fine. He's the number 1 overall pick. And he had to play his first game against the Broncos, who have a really, really good defense. It's almost like we could have seen that coming. And anybody who's trashing him is just looking for layup content. So I'm not going to do that. Anyway, 49ers versus Seahawks. Kyle Shanahan don't give a shit. he's going to roll CMC out there freaking every play. He carried the ball 22 times, 10 targets for CMC. Absolutely insane. And if you have him, obviously I think you're going to run him to the wheels fall off, just like Shanahan. And I said Shanahan, kind of funny there. Shanahan, that might be how I say it from now on. Like an old person who doesn't understand how to pronounce the youngster's name. Ricky Pearsall, man, if I don't know if you can buy him, but I think he's going to be really good. The usage was extremely good. Only 6 targets, but I think that number is going to go up. And we have to talk about it. Kenneth Walker. This is an L, at least for now. Only 21 of 52 snaps, 9 of 26 route runs, only 3 targets, 10 carries. 10 carries to Charbonnet's 12. But Charbonnet was on the field a lot more, and that worries me in a Clint Kubiak offense. But it is just one game. Tell me, what are your thoughts here?
So they were rotating drives, which is in and of itself concerning, but it wasn't like they kind of came into it. It just so happened to be that some of Charbonnet's drives were longer than Walker's drives, and Evan Silva jokingly said it's because Kenneth Walker was on the field. Respectfully, this is another watch the damn game moment. And I know these people got red zone. I know they got Sunday ticket. If I'm seeing these plays, I don't know how you're not seeing these plays. Now, Walker didn't look good, don't get me wrong. But the amount of times he would get the ball and just immediately be met by 2 defenders is absurd. Like, his yards before contact had to be between -1 yards and a half a yard. Because I didn't see one single carry where he wasn't met at or behind the line of scrimmage. Now, there's always nuance to that. How much is it on Kenneth Walker for not being explosive or yada, yada, yada. But it certainly looked like he was getting worse run blocking than Charbonnet, and we can chalk that up to some luck. So, but again, the big picture is he was trading drives with Charbonnet. So one of 2 things needs to happen to rectify that. Either A, it was because of, injuries to Kenneth Walker early on in the season. I feel like there has to be at least some shade of that based on what the coaching staff was talking about. They were not a earn every opportunity kind of coaching staff when they came in. They were we got to get Kenneth Walker the ball as much as possible. So this was weird to see, but it's happened. Thankfully, Charbonnet didn't look great either. So if Kenneth Walker comes out, feels a little bit better week 2 and has a good performance, then I'm willing to put this behind me. But if not, if they go and trade drives again in week 2, it's danger mode. And the tough part with Kenneth Walker is you kind of got to decide now, because he can't afford too much more of this before his value tanks. So I'm probably trying to sell just because his value is going to go off a cliff if you make the wrong move. And I think there's so much in that area of running back. There's so much palpability with so many running backs in that area that I'm willing to miss out on a little bit of that for some security.
Yeah, this one's painful. This one's painful because I was so in on Kenneth Walker. I made a big trade to get Kenneth Walker on a win now team. I was so confident, and it's just one of those things where you go, I cannot believe that the Seahawks think that Charbonnet is better than Kenneth Walker. So I'm going to hold for now. I want to see another week, and if that costs me, that costs me. But if you want to sell, I wouldn't sell too low on him because I do still think that there's a ton of upside. Oh, and the last thing I'll say about this game is I think JSN is elite, and I take back every bad thing I said about him. Lions versus Packers. We have 4 more games to go, so we're going to go into rapid mode here. The only thing I want to say about this game, well, 2 things. One, you can't trust Matt LaFleur in fantasy football. I tried to tell y'all Matt LaFleur is going to do Matt LaFleur things. Matthew Golden played on 23 of 48 snaps. Kind of like I knew that was going to happen. Jaden Reed, 18 of 48 snaps, ran about half the routes. Same with Golden. Although Tucker Kraft, his role is legitimate. 44 of 48 snaps, 18 of 23 routes run, 4 targets. the Packers going to Packer, man. You can't really trust Matthew Golden as of right now, although I do like the upside. On the Lions side, Jameson Williams is elite, or he has elite usage rather. Ran all the routes, just 5 targets. What's your panic level on this Lions offense? Like, are you worried about it going forward, or what are your thoughts here?
No, I think this it's funny because the narrative going into the year was like Ben Johnson, what happens after he leaves. And because of this game, everyone's quick to kind of be like, or a lot of people at least are very quick to be, yep, we were right. This offense isn't going to be the same without him. I think this was much more a testament on the Packers defense, and especially what Micah Parsons brings. That front seven is unreal. That front seven is nasty in Green Bay. And I think this was preparation. Like, they weren't prepared for Micah Parsons to be a part of this team. And, you know, the secondary of Green Bay isn't great. They don't have a lot of corners. So that was a little frustrating to see the passing attack not look very good against that. But again, like, huge disruption of Micah Parsons joining this roster throws away an entire, off season of game planning that you had for this one game. And you have a get right spot against Chicago next week. Sorry, but they're probably, that's at home after that loss. It seems like a really good get right spot for them. I'm not nervous yet. I think this week it was more a testament to how good the Packers probably are going to be this year.
Agree. Especially, I agree with the get back on the Bears, especially considering the Bears might be without Jalen Johnson again, and Kyler Gordon and TJ Edwards, who are all missing from week 1's game, which we'll talk about here at the end. So don't go anywhere. Click like, click subscribe. We have 3 more games to go. Texans, Rams. I don't really have much to say about this game because it was a weird game. I think that this might be a game where we look back and go, wow, that happened in week 1. I think the score was 14-9 or something like that. The Rams ended up winning. I'm not too concerned about Nico Collins. I am a little bit concerned about the Houston Texans offensive line holding up because it looked horrible. And some of the usage, especially from the rookies, I'm just not too concerned about. Like, I think Jaden Higgins will be fine. I think Jalen Noel will be fine. If anybody's panicking on those guys, I think I would be willing to buy them. But I wouldn't read too much into, as much as I like Xavier Hutchinson, because I do, I don't think he's going to be on the field for 43 of 63 snaps, running 23 of 34 routes for much longer, because I think Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel are just better. But man, they really did collect all the Iowa State wide receivers. Holy cow. But any takeaways on this game at all, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the Rams defense is going to be extraordinary this year. I have concerns about the Texans offense, particularly with that O-line, but not to the degree of what we saw today. I think that's the floor, right? They have the ability to get completely shut down by an elite defense. I think the mediocre to bad defenses, they're still going to be fine against, but it's going to be some rough spots for Houston based on this. And I probably should have been a little less bullish on Nico Collins because of that. I still think long-term, like, they're going to figure this out. CJ Stroud's really good, but for this season, it's a little shaky with what we're looking at here. They just lost their starting center, at least for next week, to injury. So it's probably we're in for another rough week 2 for them. And then Puka Nacua is probably could be wide receiver 1 overall with his usage in that offense. He's just an absolute animal. I think Devontae Adams doesn't have as bad of a game. I can't remember his stats off the top of my head, but his usage is going to be there as well. It's going to be a 2-headed monster there with Nacua and Adams. So weird how it ended up in the score sheets, but Rams defense very good. Rams offense very good. Texans, they're going to have some rough spots this year.
Yeah, I still think I want I mean, I'm not willing to pay the price. I don't think it's come down enough for Nico, so I'm a hold for now. But there was something I was going to say, and I just completely. Devontae Adams, that's right. I'm not worried about Devontae Adams either. His use 8 targets, 55 of 60 snaps, 29 of 32 routes run. I think we're good. I think if somebody's worried, I would be willing to buy if I was a win now team. Ravens, Bills, the shootout, the comeback. Zay Flowers, 50% target share. 50%. Crazy. I think he's just an insane player. I wish he played on an offense that was a little bit more pass happy, but he's so efficient. Like, I don't know. I think he might be the Devon Achane of wide receivers, but you let me know how you feel about that comp. Just incredible game, and I wish I had him on all my fantasy teams. I just like the whole evaluation of Zay Flowers being like, oh crap, he's on the Ravens. It's you have to say it because it's warranted, but at the same time, when do we get to the point where the player's just so damn good that we shouldn't care about these things? That's kind of where I'm at with Zay Flowers, because I love Zay Flowers going into that draft, and then when he got drafted by the Ravens, I was like, oh gosh, he got drafted by the Ravens. But Mark Andrews, only one target. I would be buying low on Mark Andrews. His usage is fine in the offense. Keon Coleman, 11 targets. Usage looks great. 75 of 85 snaps, 50 of 53 routes run. I think that there's still a buy window for Keon Coleman. Any thoughts about this game from a usage standpoint here?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place, really. Like, I think I'm kind of out on Mark Andrews, actually. Like, with this game only getting one target, it's just, I don't know. You have a limited window, really, without Isaiah Likely. I really would have liked to see more than one target in this game where 82 points are scored or whatever it was.
They only threw the ball like 22 times or 8. Well, hold on, I'll bring it up, but they didn't throw the ball that much.
Well, I think that's a testament. I mean, they scored like 38 points, something like that, right around that area. And Mark Andrews could only get one target. They only threw 20-something times or 36 times if Zay Flowers had 18 targets and a 50% target share.
Hold on. 9 of 18 targets.
Oh, 9 of it. Okay, there we go. I see it on I misread the show sheet. But yeah, so yeah, that's probably fair. Maybe out isn't the right term, but I also don't know if I'm buying. I'd rather buy Harold Fannin or Juwan Johnson, really.
Ooh, yeah,
based on what I've seen.
Cheaper.
I can make an argument on getting Jake Tongas for the weeks that George Kittle's out.
Good God.
He earned more targets than Mark Andrews, 3 times the targets.
Jesus.
He had more touchdowns. Getting a little off.
Mark Andrews for Jake Tongas versus Mark Andrews bet rest of season.
No. Okay. Keon Coleman is the guy I think in this Bills offense. We're going to be I don't think we're going to be seeing like 9 target games from Josh Palmer all the time, but he's also going to be involved. I think the big thing with the Bills is, are we going to be able to trust that this production is going to be relatively consistent each game? Because I could very well see it being almost like a roulette wheel of which of those 3 ends up having the big game if they spike. And the Bills pound on a lot of people. The Bills beat up on a lot of defenses, and as such, they're going to be running the ball a lot. So, are 80-point games, or is that we're going to need to get usable weeks out of all 3 of these guys? So, I honestly think, as much crap as I've been talking about Keon Coleman, another L I probably have to take, because it seems like he's going to be the main guy here.
And one more thing. I know Dalton Kincaid caught the touchdown pass, but he's essentially splitting snaps with Dawson Knox, with Kincaid being on the field in passing situations more often, so that limits his ceiling even in a good passing offense. So I think Kincaid for me is I'm okay without Kincaid. I'll sell him to you if you want him. Vikings Bears. Here we go. I hope you stayed to the end, because this is my number 1 sell in fantasy football. And I will admit, before I start this, so maybe a little bit of capitulating before I even begin, I tend to discount the fantasy side of things sometimes when I'm evaluating players. The perfect example is Justin Fields. I don't think Justin Fields is a good quarterback. I don't think he's long for the NFL. Meaning I don't think he's going to be around in 10 years. He's just not. Same thing with Caleb Williams, man. I am seeing a lot of things, and this is coming from a diehard Bears fan who watches every single Bears game close. If people are talking during the game, it annoys me because I want to be locked in. And Caleb Williams is making a lot of the same mistakes that he made at this time last year. Missing wide open wide receivers down the field. Check down Charlie for this big talent USC scramble, big arm. I'm just not seeing it, man. I mean, there is no excuse for him to miss DJ Moore on that touchdown pass down the field when he's wide open. You couldn't ask for a wide receiver to be any more wide open than that, and just airmails him by 10 yards. And that's not the only pass that I could point to in that game. These are we could go back to week 1 against the Titans last year, and he did that with Keenan Allen, just a layup touchdown throw that 30 quarterbacks in the NFL can make. And he missed it, and missed it bad. And I saw a lot of dump offs. I saw a lot of him scrambling around when there are receivers streaking open down the field. He's not a good NFL quarterback right now. He just isn't. He might be a good fantasy quarterback, but how long is that going to last? I mean, the Bears invested the number 1 overall pick in him, so I guess this season he's the starter. Next season, maybe he's the starter, but I really believe if this continues, there's going to be an awkward situation where Ben Johnson's going to go to Ryan Poles and say, hey, man, I think you blew the number 1 overall pick here on Caleb Williams, and we need something better. So if we're at the top of the draft next year, which, by the way, is a good possibility based on how this team is constructed, we might need to look at these quarterbacks. Now, you're going to think that I'm crazy for saying that, but this is the NFL, which means not for long. So if Ben Johnson and especially Ryan Poles want to keep their jobs for the long term, and I know Ben Johnson just got a 5-year contract, and the Bears tend to, play. They tend not to want to pay coaches. They want to hang on to them, and they want to get their money's worth. But I'm just saying, Caleb's got to be better. Otherwise, I mean, at the end of this season, Caleb has another season like he had last season, and I know the stats looked okay. I'm sorry, that's not going to cut it. Like these check downs and missing wide open wide receivers down the field. I'm sorry, he looked like the 24th best quarterback in the NFL and that's being generous.
Yeah, I don't have much to add on the Caleb Williams situation. I really want him to be good.
Me too.
I hold out hope, probably mostly just because I don't have any fantasy stock in him. So it's really easy for me to have that hopeful outlook on him. But man, yeah, just the first few drives, like the start of the first quarter into the first half of the second quarter, it was like, oh man, like maybe there's something there. Like maybe he's come around, and then those design plays ran out, and even some of the plays he was making, it was like, yeah, man, it's because you danced around the pocket for 15 seconds and did something. Like you could have stepped up and had a 15-yard gain. Instead, you danced around and hit your check down or had a 6-yard rush. So it's like, yeah, you're not taking sacks as much, but you're doing the same thing. You're just not getting sacked. So
there was a play in the Sunday night game where Rome Odunze was 1-on-1, and if it would have been a well-thrown ball, it might have been a touchdown. It was early in the game, and he was looking right at him, and you could see it plain as day on the broadcast because Troy Aikman is saying, oh, yeah, he just kind of came off that wide receiver a little bit too soon.
It's a really good Troy Aikman impression. It's a really good.
Oh, really? I just doing it off the cuff. You see Odunze just streaking over down the middle, and he was wide open, just run a post route over the middle of the field, and he's looking right at him, and he's coming open, and he checks it down. And I'm like, what are you doing? I don't know. But it's just it's enough to drive me crazy seeing JJ McCarthy, who looks like a winner, by the way. And if you have JJ McCarthy,
let's be early. It's early, man. Like, I'm a hold on JJ McCarthy. Yeah. Let's not forget that he looked like shit the first 3 quarters of this game. Now it's his first 3 quarters of NFL football, so I'm not going to be too hard
on the road, outdoors in Soldier Field. So it's
all right. Let's not pretend that matters at all. It's not like it's they're on the road at Soldier this week. That's going to be tough. No one said that since 2006.
And their top 2 corners were out. So,
but I want to see what happens to JJ McCarthy when a defense doesn't completely fall apart in the fourth quarter, when a team doesn't completely fall apart in the second half. But like you said, I do think he has that moxie, that winning kind of attitude. He certainly has the belief of everyone around him. I still think he's going to be a souped up Brock Purdy, like a really good game manager. Like, I don't see him being an elite talent, but he does have the legs to be a fantasy force if that passing volume kicks up. So I'm hopeful. I lean by, but I'm not going to go crazy and say, like, wow, what a performance. Like, the fact that he got NFC Player of the Week is absolutely ridiculous. 143 passing yards. Come on. So
is that all he had? I didn't.
That's it. And a lot of that was in the late third, fourth quarter. So it wasn't a very good performance from McCarthy outside of that, but it does seem that when the lights are on and the going gets tough, that dog does come out, and that's really important. So I really liked what I saw towards the end of that game, but the early parts were exactly why I was hesitant on going as far as some other analysts did on his talent. So like I was before, I'm still very neutral on McCarthy. I think he's going to be very good, but I don't think he's going to be, an elite asset.
Some more notes on this game. And then I have one more thing to mention about how bad the Bears are as an organization. Jalen Naylor is Jordan Addison for now. You can look at Jalen Naylor's usage and then just substitute in Jordan Addison when he comes back. That's what's going to happen. And that's really good for Jordan Addison. Rome Odunze is the number 1 wide receiver on the Chicago Bears, and that's just not me saying it. It's the Chicago Bears saying it by the way they used him. 63 of 67 snaps, 41 of 44 routes run, 8 targets, and he caught the touchdown. And they were lining up DJ Moore as a running back. That's another thing. Like, what are we doing? Like, how do we not have a running back room that's even presentable? Like, it's just not. We gotta put DJ Moore back there. Anyway, Cole Kmet, is he still the tight end 1 for the Bears? Because he was out there for 60 of 67 snaps, ran 31 of 44 routes, and was targeted 4 times. Compare that to Colston Loveland, who they just had to have in the top 10, and they had to have him over Tyler Warren. 38 of 67 snaps, 21 of 44 routes run, 2 targets. Now, I do still think Colston Loveland is good, but if Tyler Warren can be used like the Colts used him in week 1, 53 of 73 snaps, 24 of 33 routes run, and 9 targets, then what are we doing with Cole Kmet in week 1 here? If we had to have Luther Burden in round 2, if we had to have Colston Loveland in round 1, these are supposed to be impact players for you. And Burden's hardly seeing the field, and Loveland is being significantly outsnapped by Cole Kmet. I don't know what the Bears are doing here. Maybe it improves as the season goes on. I would still be buying Colston Loveland, but I don't get it. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't either, but I think it's a lot to do with Kmet's blocking ability.
Yeah. But we were told that Colston Loveland could block, and I thought he could. But anyway, at least that's what we were told by the Bears, not fantasy community, but Bears. That's what they said. All right. So we went a little bit long, but we had a lot to say. We hadn't done a podcast in a long time, and there was a whole week's worth of games that was played. So if you're still with us, thank you so much. Click the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go download the podcast, give it a 5-star review. Helps us out a lot. And if you play Fast Draft Fantasy, you can use our promo code to get a bonus of up to $50. So go ahead and do that. Promo code DRT. Mr. Babbage, do you have any final words of wisdom for the people this evening?
Follow us on Twitter at Babbage_Matt10 for me, BABICH for the podcast listeners, and at Seth_Dewald, DIEWOLD, and on Twitter for the show at FF Dynasty Table. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a subscribe. You don't have no idea how much that means to us. Thank you all for tuning in, and please let us know what highlights we missed, any discussion points you'd like to have, all right here in the comment section. We will be engaging with you.
Until next time, nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers. We still don't care about him, even though he threw 4 touchdowns. And we will see you later. Thank you so much for watching. Be good, everybody, and we will see you next time.